know I'm backtracking a little bit, but I stumbled across a bunch of footage from this past summer in Alaska that I would really like to share. I noticed in my second visit to Alaska in 5 years that the state had become quite a bit crowded, at least in the drivable areas. There were twice as many RVs, more restaurants, newly professional photographers and tourists with shiny new guns lining up to kill things. Fortunately, the state is enormous, and finding a little elbow room wasn't a problem. I hit the trails running. I wanted to see it all. As I looked out across Hatcher's Pass, I realized it's going to take more than a couple visits, and I'll probably need a bush plane. I stomped every trail I could between performances. Last time I was in Alaska, I left regretting not spending enough time in the woods. This time I got to know the plants and the sky. I bathed in the wild beauty of the northern grandeur as the filth of the figurative highways of my life was cleansed by the winds of the most inaccessible wilds. Fireweed is the ultimate symbol of the dearly treasured and celebrated northern summer. The shoots can be harvested in spring and are loaded in vitamin C and beta-carotene. Fireweed has antispasmodic properties, useful in soothing asthma, coughs, and intestinal issues. It was also used by the native people as an anti-inflammatory and anti-irritant. They make an exceptionally tasty trail snack, and in my opinion their beauty and elegance is paralleled by no other flower on earth. They act as a reminder of how short these northern summers are, an hourglass in the form of a flower. The flowers bloom from bottom to top on the stem. When the flowers have reached the top, summer has peaked and winter begins its long return. Although forget-me-not is the state flower of Alaska, I believe fireweed is the true symbol of this land, and I think most locals would agree without hesitation. I played over 60 shows in Alaska this past summer, in almost every town reachable by car. Alaskans are some of my favorite people to perform to. They really seem to relate to the nature-driven, less-is-more attitude about my music. I had some very positive and memorable shows this time through, but I didn't drive 7,000 miles the long way to Alaska to play music. I went for the wilderness, for the wind, for the towering mountains, the great north, true isolation, the horrifying stillness and silence. There's no Wall Street here, no bills to pay, no sirens or barking dogs, no PC police. Urinating on a tree isn't punishable by imprisonment. No arguing neighbors, and certainly no alarm clocks. No regrets about yesterday or fear of tomorrow. Just staying alive, right now, a priority that seems to slip away so often in this modern world. Everything clinging to the ledge for survival, death creeping around, waiting for someone or something to make one mistake. Waiting for something alive to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The threat of death is so vital in appreciating existence. A regular reminder that it all ends so soon is a crucial ingredient in tasting how sweet existence really is. I hiked through Crow Pass starting in Girdwood. The terrain was breathtaking. Snow and ice-capped alpine peaks reaching into the celestial Alaskan sky. Tiny wildflowers scattered throughout the vibrant green tundra bed. I felt as far away from the rest of the world as I had ever been. It was cleansing. I have to admit, though, I did enjoy the company of others while jaunting through these otherworldly hinterlands. I sat quietly and watched my new friend chewing grass and flowers with determination. His fuzzy white balls swung from side to side as he ripped into the fruits of our mother. He took one look at me and seemed to smile. Then he pissed into the river with an indifference that I could relate to. Sitting under the lethargic and leisurely cumulus, I declared him my best friend, aloud, to all of Alaska and beyond. He had a vacant look in his eyes, but was somehow a master of existence. No redundant gibberish spewed from his mouth ripe with incessant longings for egoic recognition from his peers. He didn't have mommy issues, nor did he give a fuck about the primaries. He seemed to show no interest in Christ, or any religion for that matter. My idol, the mountain goat. Too high in the mountains, eating, pissing, and shitting on God's creation to give a fuck. Living as I believe we are all meant to do. An epic beast that I will forever adore. He later told me his birthday too, coincidentally, was on December 25th. The Alaskan salmon live one of the most fascinating lives of the entire animal kingdom. In a nutshell, they start as small eggs in a stream bed. They spend a couple years in their natal waters as fry, soon becoming smolts before making their way into the sea as young salmon. Once they have fully matured, they make their way back to their original birthplace. They fight their way back upstream tirelessly, jumping waterfalls and climbing over each other to finally reach their breeding grounds. They typically die within a week of spawning, fertilizing the stream and leaving the waters nutrient-rich for the next generation. They battle against all odds for the sake of breeding, continuing their species. Everything in Alaska seems to want to get its hands, claws, or paws on these fish. They jump across rivers, over ledges, out of the mouths and paws of the grizzly. They scurry out of reach of bald eagles and fight the nets of commercial fishermen and the hooks of fly-fishing tourists. I made my way back to the northeast border of Canada on September 1st. Summer was over. The fireweed flowers had all wilted and blown from their stems. The foliage of the black cottonwood, willow, and Sitka alder began their transformation from vibrant green to electric hues of yellow and orange. The gray sky looked ominous and telling of an approaching freeze. The snow-coated mountains of the Chugach Range were unfathomable and gargantuan. I felt an itch in my tail to get moving. As much as I'd love to experience an Alaskan winter, the rambling side of me doesn't take well to big freezes and long stays. I crossed the northernmost border point in North America and began my pilgrimage toward New England. I spent weeks in the car and camper alone, grinding my way back toward my birthplace like the pink salmon of Alaska. I traversed the high mountain passes of northern British Columbia through breathtaking golden autumnal scenes of quaking aspen foliage. Turquoise rivers fed by glacier melt from high granite peaks followed me for days along the Alaska-Canada highway. I looked back in my rear view at all that was behind me, 25,000 miles in 6 months, 122 performances. A certain feeling of vacancy came over me, much like my best friend of the mountains. Had I too become a master of existence, or just a master of wasting time? Is there even a difference? One thing is certain, my pilgrimage remains unending, both on land and through space. That's gonna do it for this episode of Free, Wild, and Restless. There's a 30-day tour through Italy and Switzerland around the corner, and a 2-month tour in the US. Check the website for tour dates in your area. Make sure to like the Facebook page for updates about this show. Stay wild and free, y'all.